A proposed Winnipeg bylaw would ban what it calls nuisance protests within 100 meters of places like schools, hospitals, and cultural centers. That has sparked a debate over the difference between protest and intimidation.
It would trigger a $500 offense on the first offense.
On Thursday, opponents gathered at West End Commons to organize a response.
We're terribly concerned about the threat it poses, not just to protest, but to public gatherings of all types.
The bylaw prohibits, quote, any demonstration that involves the expression of objection or disapproval of an idea, action, person, or group based on or related to any specified characteristics. Intimidation, as well as blocking access to people or vehicles, or using amplifiers without a permit, would also be banned. Legal labor strikes would be exempt. People like organizer Cam Scott and others at the meeting said it could impact Indigenous protests like round dances and would place large parts of the city off limits for demonstrations.
There's virtually no community space that wouldn't have one of these protected sites in it. In fact, they all ought to have schools and places of worship and so on. That's what constitutes a community.
Opponents also argued the language in the bylaw is vague, and they questioned how the city would decide what qualifies as a nuisance protest.
Obviously, that language is very odd because you don't protest to not get attention.
But the councillor who brought the motion forward says the intent is not to silence peaceful protests, it's to prevent intimidation.
I'd like to know what exactly type of protest these folks plan on participating in that causes intimidation at one of those protests, because that sounds like what the opposition would be, that they like to intimidate people, and that's their goal here, is that don't take away my right to intimidate.
Critics of the plan say police already have tools to deal with harmful behavior at demonstrations. Manitoba has legislation creating a buffer zone of at least 50 meters around facilities whose main purpose is to provide abortions. The bylaw heads to the Executive Policy Committee next Tuesday. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.